I feel like you're in particular known for the eggs that you get to create and bring into town. I'm curious, what do people need to know about sourcing high quality eggs? It's one of these topics. You see free range, you see pasture raised. There's a lot of confusion around it. I still think that people struggle with kind of just understanding the vernacular. So I'm curious just to get your take. Like, what do people need to know about sourcing eggs?
Well, my take on, I mean, eggs are a commodity in the U.S., right? Like all this stuff has been commoditized. And so all these classifications have been created because in general, people are buying eggs at the grocery store without any knowledge of who the producer is or how they produce the eggs or whatever. And so you've got eggs, which are almost certainly, hens in a big barn, may or may not be in confinement in individual cages. I don't know if they still do that, but and then you've got free range, which means they're not in cages. They're able to walk around, but they could be crammed into a big barn, probably are. That's cage free. And then free range, I think they're supposed to have access to some outdoor space that they may or may not ever use because it's like a little door on the edge of the barn that may not be very accessible or attractive. And then you've got pasture raised, which indicates that the birds are living on pasture. Now, all pasture raised eggs are not created equal, or not produced equally, and for very good reason, because producing eggs on pasture is quite inefficient, and efficiency is important for any business. Because we are not a commodity brand that's on a grocery store shelf where people are blindly purchasing our eggs. They maybe know our brand name or whatever, but they don't know us. We might be hundreds of miles away, right, if in that scenario. Because we are selling our eggs direct and we can get the price we need to get for our eggs, we can handle the inefficiencies of predation, of, just exposure to the elements, which is usually not a problem, to the inefficiencies of like feeding birds in that setting, hand collecting all these eggs. A lot of farms have conveyor systems where it's like the eggs get conveyed, washed, and packed without a human touching them, and that's not us. Like every egg has been touched. And so, from a macronutrient standpoint, I don't know that there's much difference between some large-scale pasture-raised or free-range egg and my egg, and I'm not a nutritionist, so I can't go into detail on that. But I know that fundamentally, and Will Harris talked about this on the Joe Rogan podcast, which is it was the first one he did, I think. It's a really great conversation. But he talks about like, what animal do you want to be eating, right? Like he made the comparison of like a feedlot calf to a grass-finished calf in his program, and like if you left the feedlot calf in that program for a long period of time, like it would die. Like probably wouldn't make it another year, right? Because you're creating this metabolically unhealthy animal. And whereas on a true grass finishing program, that animal would certainly, barring some sort of surprise, catastrophe, or freak illness, would live its entire lifespan, 20-year lifespan,
Yeah.
And so same thing with eggs, birds that are not exposed to the sunshine and able to forage on bugs and seeds and all the natural things that these birds are supposed to be consuming are just not going to be as healthy as birds that are crammed inside a climate-controlled barn. Now, they might have a more comfortable life in some ways, right? Because when it's cold out, our birds are cold. When it's hot out, our birds are hot. But, they have shade and they have shelter and they have food and water, and they're not like getting rained on, but they are more exposed to the elements, and so they don't produce as well as birds that are in a perfectly balanced environment, But but I personally would rather eat meat or eggs from an animal that's living a natural life and not something that's, been designed for someone for efficiency over, for quantity over quality.
Yeah, it's a really important nuance because that's something Harry and I talk a lot about of like, you know, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this, but you know, it's chicken, meat, etc. It's like we're trying to say not to demonize individual ingredients, demonize the way that it's actually harvested and raised. Just like, you know, hey, all bread is bad. Well, it's
Right.
like, I don't, you know, local sourdough compared to Wonder Bread, those are two totally different products. Type of chicken that you're talking about versus some industrial broiler, whatever, totally different product too.
Right.
So it's like we kind of got to get out of this habit of just being like, oh, this product's bad, this product's good, versus like how's the animal actually raised and harvested, etc.
Well, and then there's the conversation. This comes up a lot. It's like, are you organic? Is everything you give your animals organic? And for some people, the gold standard is everything certified organic. And to your point, like I buy alfalfa during a drought. It's not certified organic. It's possible those fields have been sprayed before. I don't know. That's not a big part of our program, but like it's there. But I can guarantee you, some calf stuck in a feedlot eating organic grains and getting unhealthy and living in an unhealthy environment is certainly not superior to what we're producing on our farm.